When Scarlett Johansson appeared on Today with Jenna and friends, the morning was supposed to be lighthearted, a mix of friendly banter, a few personal stories, and promotion for her latest film. She arrived on set smiling, exchanging quick greetings with Jenna Bush Hager and the co-hosts, her polished professionalism giving no hint of what was about to unfold. At first, the conversation flowed smoothly. They discussed her career, her work-life balance, and her thoughts on Hollywood's evolving landscape. But when one of the co-hosts steered the topic toward a controversial comment Scarlett had made in a past interview, a subject she had been repeatedly asked about and publicly clarified before, her expression noticeably tightened. The air in the studio shifted, and even Jenna's attempts to soften the question with humor didn't fully diffuse the tension. Scarlett leaned forward, her voice calm but clipped, pointing out that she'd addressed the issue multiple times and preferred to focus on her current work. However, the co-host pressed again, framing the topic as something the audience wants clarity on, which only deepened the discomfort. The subtle irritation in Scarlett's tone began to creep into her body language: folded arms, narrowed eyes, a slow shake of the head, and viewers at home could sense that this was no longer a standard celebrity Q&A. Jenna tried to pivot the discussion toward the fun cooking segment planned for later, but Scarlett's answers became shorter, her smile more forced. When yet another pointed remark brought the conversation back to the old controversy, Scarlett's patience seemed to snap. She took a measured breath, muttered something under her breath that the microphones didn't quite catch, and announced, with a tight smile, that she was done talking about this and had better things to do than rehash the past. Without waiting for a commercial break, she stood, adjusted her blazer, and walked off the set, leaving Jenna and her co-hosts momentarily stunned before scrambling to transition into an unscheduled segment. The audience erupted on social media. Within minutes, clips of her walk-off spreading rapidly, sparking debates about whether she had overreacted or simply stood her ground. Backstage. The tension was just as thick as it had been on camera. Scarlett, still visibly frustrated, paced near the dressing rooms while a member of her team tried to calm her down. She kept shaking her head, muttering that she had agreed to the interview under the impression it would be about her film, her charity work, and a few lighthearted anecdotes, not a rehash of controversies she'd spent years clarifying. A show producer approached cautiously, attempting to smooth things over and perhaps coax her back for the remainder of the episode, but Scarlett's firm refusal made it clear the segment was over for her. Meanwhile, Jenna Bush Hager, now off-air for a commercial break, reportedly expressed concern over how the situation had been handled, insisting she hadn't intended for the conversation to escalate. The co-host who had pressed the topic seemed more defensive, claiming they were just doing their job and asking what the audience might be thinking. That explanation did little to change the mood. Several crew members admitted privately that they felt the question was poorly timed and unnecessarily provocative. Social media was already ablaze, with fans split between praising Scarlett for setting boundaries and criticizing her for walking off. Hashtags like #ScarlettToday and #StandYourGround began trending, while others accused her of being overly sensitive. Some entertainment bloggers quickly published think pieces framing the incident as a prime example of the strained relationship between celebrities and daytime talk shows in an era when personal and professional lines blur constantly. Within an hour, both Scarlett's publicist and the show released carefully worded statements, the former reaffirming her commitment to respectful conversations that highlight her work, the latter acknowledging a misunderstanding and expressing hope to host her again in the future. Yet despite the diplomatic language, the clip of her abrupt departure continued circulating, solidifying the moment as one of the most talked about morning TV walk-offs in recent memory. In the hours that followed, the incident took on a life of its own. Entertainment news outlets replayed the walk-off clip in slow motion, analyzing Scarlett's body language frame by frame, how her jaw tightened just before she set her coffee mug down, how her eyes narrowed slightly as the question was repeated, and the subtle shift in her posture that signaled she was done. Paparazzi staked out the building's exit, capturing images of her getting into a black SUV without acknowledging the flashes, her team shielding her from the chaos. Inside the studio, producers held a quick meeting to assess the fallout, debating whether the segment should remain online or be quietly pulled to reduce backlash. Ultimately, the decision was to leave it up but disable comments, a move that only fueled more conversation. Fans and critics dissected the situation on podcasts and YouTube reaction channels, some framing Scarlett's departure as a brave rejection of sensationalism, others calling it a calculated publicity move. By evening, late-night hosts were weaving jokes about it into their monologues, though a few offered a surprisingly sympathetic take, noting that live TV can be unpredictable and that even seasoned stars have limits. Meanwhile, Scarlett's friends in the industry began posting supportive messages, without naming the show, emphasizing the importance of mutual respect between hosts and guests. That night, Scarlett reportedly met with her publicist and legal team to discuss how to steer the narrative, while her phone buzzed constantly with messages from peers and journalists requesting comment. As the media storm raged, one thing became clear: whether people sided with her or not, the walk-off had struck a nerve, sparking a much larger conversation about celebrity boundaries, the ethics of daytime television, and the unspoken rules of on-air etiquette. By the next morning, the story had transcended entertainment news and seeped into mainstream media discussions, with breakfast shows, news panels, and even political commentators weighing in on the spectacle. Some argued that Scarlett's reaction was emblematic of a growing cultural shift in which celebrities refused to play along with invasive media tactics, while others insisted that walking out was unprofessional and disrespectful to viewers. Memes flooded social platforms, some portraying her as a modern-day hero defending personal dignity, others poking fun with exaggerated GIF loops of her leaving in slow motion to dramatic music. Producers from other talk shows reportedly reached out to her representatives, offering safe interview environments as a subtle jab at Jenna and friends, while behind the scenes, NBC's PR department worked overtime to contain any reputational damage. Industry insiders leaked that the question Scarlett found offensive was one she had repeatedly asked to be off-limits, which shifted much of the public sentiment in her favor. Still, the network insisted it was a misunderstanding, citing the unpredictable nature of live TV and the spontaneity that viewers love. Scarlett herself maintained a calculated silence, declining all interview requests and avoiding social media, entirely a move that only amplified public curiosity. Speculation swirled over whether she would address the matter in an upcoming magazine profile or save her response for a charity event she was already scheduled to attend. Publicist TV hosts and media trainers dissected the incident in webinars and insider panels, using it as a case study in crisis management and brand control. In the midst of it all, fans began a hashtag campaign urging her to boycott the show permanently, while others urged reconciliation, hoping she might return to clear the air in a follow-up segment. By the time the week ended, the clip had amassed millions of views, cementing itself as one of the most memorable and divisive talk show moments of the year. As the weekend approached, the conversation surrounding Scarlett Johansson's walk-off had evolved into something far bigger than a single celebrity spat. It had become a referendum on the entire culture of modern talk shows. Media analysts debated whether hosts were crossing ethical lines in pursuit of viral moments, noting how the competitive nature of daytime television often rewards shock value over substance. Former guests of Today with Jenna and Friends began anonymously sharing stories about feeling pressured into answering personal questions they had been told would be off-limits, giving the controversy fresh momentum. Scarlett's team, still silent publicly, was reportedly inundated with both support and offers from other high-profile programs to tell her side first, knowing that securing her comeback interview would mean massive ratings. Meanwhile, Jenna's defenders pointed to her long-standing reputation for warmth and humor, suggesting the clash was the result of an unfortunate misunderstanding rather than intentional provocation. On fan forums, debates turned fearsome. SCCUSED Scarlett of being overly sensitive, while others argued she had every right to protect her boundaries, especially in an industry notorious for blurring them. Behind the scenes, executives weighed whether to invite Scarlett back in a conciliatory move or quietly let the situation fade, aware that any decision carried potential PR risks. Late-night comedians jumped on the bandwagon, crafting monologues and sketches reenacting the incident with playful exaggeration, further embedding the story into pop culture. Brand experts noted that Scarlett's refusal to address the drama had paradoxically strengthened her image, portraying her as poised and in control while the show's ratings dipped slightly in the days following the event. By Sunday, trade publications hinted that a major industry award ceremony might be her first public appearance since the incident, setting the stage for even greater media attention. The longer she stayed silent, the more the public seemed to project their own interpretations onto her actions, ensuring that when she finally did speak, her words would land with maximum impact. Asterisk.